you all. I'm going to go ahead and hit record here and we will get ready to get started. Let me go ahead and pause this and we'll get things kicked off. By the way, were all of you all in the division meeting on this past Thursday?
I think so.
Cool.
Lisa.
So should be
I
good.
was in the division meeting.
Awesome. What were some of y'all's takeaways from that meeting?
Oh, there were so many.
Yeah, what were some of the big ones?
Let me see. I gotta go back in my notes.
Yeah, that's by the way, one thing I always recommend is like whenever you go to a meeting like that, there's usually a lot to take in. So usually just even today, I'm going to teach you guys some stuff. The big thing that I'll recommend to you all is just anytime that you're doing something, it's always you got to make sure the basics are still happening there. So sometimes I've seen reps actually go to a meeting like that and actually get worse because they tried doing too many different stuff in their appointments and they're trying to like do 20 different things versus as I'm sure a lot of y'all have started to notice, the job's a lot more about confidence and sales expectation and showing up to the presentation confidently, doing the presentation confidently. So if you're adding in a lot of things that might help, but you're doing them in an unconfident manner because you don't really know what you're doing, it's the first time and you haven't reviewed it well, that actually can throw off your appointment a little bit more than just like reading the damn script and sticking to the manual. So even as you learn things today, taking some time to like review the notes and then just implement them slowly, one or two things at a time, per demo versus, all right, this demo, I'm going to try to do this differently at the beginning and this differently at the end and blah, blah, blah. That can distract you a little bit from the core components of what creates, a sale in the first place. So, but what were some of the big ones that came out?
I really thought it was important to note down that you have to get clear on what's important to you. Those goals, you need to make sure it's getting through to your customer right in the beginning. Repeat them.
And making sure that they know that there's some sort of sales goal attached to what you're actually doing. I'm going to give you guys some goods today on how to share your goals probably a little bit better with your customers here as well. Daniel, Cam, what were some takeaways for you guys?
Mine was, I love the holiday objections part, along with it takes 4 to 5 no's. So just keeping that in mind with dropping down.
Yep, always 4 to 5. And that's not just for Cutco too. That's just any sales think about you go into a retail store, like you usually don't just like walk in, see a shirt and go and check out. You'll walk in and there's a couple of things that you mentally say no to, or even a salesperson says, hey, you want to see this? No, not really. I'm good. It's usually 4 or 5 times before someone ends up actually saying yes. That's just like with most purchases in general. Very rarely do people just say yes on the first time. It's a 4 to 5 no's usually before you get that first yes. So just knowing that and knowing you're a little bit separate, a little closer to a sale. And by the way, anytime that I would always do a little audit. Anytime that you get a no sale in a presentation, ask yourself how many no's you got from that customer. It's usually less than 5, and that's why it was no sale because you only got 2 or you were like, oh, homemaker, no gal, and then you didn't even really finish dropping down. It just became a no sale versus actually taking them through the right process, and it usually ends up being a sale after you've gone through that process the right way. Camo was one for you, and we'll get started.
Just having them in their kitchen while you're doing it, have them like compare their knives to Cutco knives and seeing how much better Cutco knives are.
Yep, that was probably from advanced training too, a little bit. But because you can't actually. I don't think you were in the division meeting, Cam.
I was in the division. Oh, okay. I get mixed up.
One, and that was a good one. It's just actually making sure they're in the place where they're going to be, purchased, like using this stuff out of frame, out of mind. So if they're not really thinking about it genuinely, then it's harder to get them to think about purchasing it versus when they're in their kitchen, they have their old knives sitting next to them. It makes it a lot more relevant and actually like a real decision-making process versus just something that's hypothetical when they actually have their other knives sitting in front of them too. So awesome. Love the takeaways. Well, ladies and gents, we will go ahead and dive in right throughout the day. I want to welcome you all to our sales leadership and development meeting. Quick things for today. I think everyone's good to go, but just make sure you're in a good place where you can take some notes, be ready to rock and roll. And this will be just kind of a recap from the divisional meeting, but always recommend for any of these types of events that, you're showing up and really being 100% engaged, as I'm sure, you all will be today. But if you're 100% engaged, you do the things that leaders that are 100% engaged do, which is, seeking best practices. And, for that, I just think about, are you looking for really the best way to do things and not just the most comfortable, really looking for best practices. And that's one thing about developing long-term, sales skills is if you guys are at this meeting, we want to see you all have some long-term sustainable success where you're building momentum over the break. really building up some income for yourself, making a higher percentage. And by the time that the spring starts, like you've got the basic fundamentals of the position down. The job's supposed to get easier. Your recommendation base is supposed to get larger as you continue on. So really building like sustainable habits, not where it's like, okay, sometimes I get 10 to 20 recommendations and then other times I get like barely any. It's like, hey, are you getting 10 to 20 consistently on every presentation that you do, and making that a habit of going right through the right practices and looking for what are truly like the best way to do things and get things done. Second thing is just being hungry for growth. You can tell who's hungry for growth usually by how many notes people are taking, their debriefs, their light bulbs and takeaways is usually a pretty clear sign of that too. So just making sure you have your notes set up the right way for today to get the most out of the meeting, whether that's on computer or on paper or whatever that might be. And the last thing is just seeking personal clarity. You may have thought today was just about how to sell more knives, but it's not. Today's meeting is about opening up opportunities for yourselves, gaining some personal clarity, and everything like that across the board. So, with our meeting today, I have essentially kind of three objectives. I want to be able to, number one, dramatically increase your Cutco sales. And I'll tell you guys this, I don't run many sales development meetings. This is the one. And I only run a couple of these every single year. So, but personally, I sold 80 grand when I was a sales rep at Cutco. I sold it as a high school student during the summers. I sold it as a high school student around my school in senior year. I sold it as a college student. And I've done the whole gamut. I've been busy as hell trying to sell Cutco part-time around school. And I've been, full out going all out big pushes during some of my more open season here as well. So I've sold a lot of Cutco myself personally. And now my career sales are a little bit under 10 million, which I do not say to impress you all, but just to give you guys some confidence and the training that you're going to get today. And I want you to be able to, like, the key word here is dramatically. I want you to be able to point back to, December 21st, Monday, and you're like, damn, that was the day that I really started to build up some, really long-term sustainable success for myself and start to develop a skill set at a high level. Second thing is to educate you on future opportunities. Many of you don't even know this, but 2 or 3 or 4 years from now, you could potentially be opening up a career opportunity for yourself here. And the third thing that this meeting lets me do is just identify our future leaders for 2021 and beyond. So this whole year we've been talking about 2020 vision. As we go into 2021, for us, and I'll give you guys a little bit of history on our division, but it's a lot more about this year for us identifying who our future leaders are and who we're going to be building the division around. If you were at the division meeting or at really probably any events, you guys have probably seen this little slide here before. And I think the big thing is just that's our goal in our division is to create and build 5-star college graduates, and there's kind of 2 components that go into that for me. When I talk about a 5-star college recruit, I'm talking about someone that is highly sought after, regardless of their industry, major, or direction after they graduate. But there's someone that's highly sought after by companies or med schools or grad schools or whatever the case might be because of their skills and experience. And in my opinion, 5-star college graduates, they have stacked resumes. 5-star college graduates have stacked personal connections and a lot of important relationships built up and networking that's been done. They have real tangible skills that play into the process when they go into interviews, and they have easy talking points on those interviews. 5-star college graduates also have a lot of money saved. That's another thing for me. It's like how many 100K, a lot of our students just, hey, number one, graduating from college, debt free, or better yet, graduating from college with actual money in your bank account. I don't think money is the most important thing, but I definitely think it can help. I think reason a lot of students feel a lot of pressure and stress right when they graduate is because they don't get the support from mom and dad anymore. And they also have a lot of bills that just come out of nowhere for the first time in their life that appear there. And they feel stressed and the need to have to find something, which I'll tell you what, if you've got 20 grand, 50 grand, or for our top performers, we have people that graduate from college with 100K, 200K saved in their bank accounts. And I also think that is an element of being a 5-star college recruit when you don't really need anything right away when you graduate. You're not you don't have to go chase a paycheck. You can actually chase a dream and do what's a little bit more exciting and important to you, or find a place or company or start a company or do something that you're truly genuinely excited about and not just something that's gonna, be enough to pay the bills your first year out of graduating college too. So a little background on our division. This division is actually a brand new division. We've only been in business technically for a year. We actually were originally 2 divisions joined as one that basically ran and oversaw the whole entire Florida area. And, now you guys are experiencing a very vibrant and thriving division, but that's not always how it was. When I started in our company, our division in Florida was one of the worst places to go to. And we realized there's probably the highest concentration of soccer moms in Florida than maybe any other place in the country. And we realized we should probably sell a lot more Cutco down here. And in 2018, we set out to have, truly what would become an epic year. And that really was what happened. We talked about it for years before we even got to 2018, and we created really, truly epic performances. That was actually the first time as a district manager when I had my first $1 million year. We had multiple silver cups win that year. And then our idea in 2019 was to scale it to the rest of the company. And that's exactly what we did. In 2020, though, those 2 divisions split off into 2. And basically, we got the worst performing areas and for Florida Coast Division. And essentially, I was tasked with the job of taking what has in the past been one of the worst performing divisions in the company and turning it into one of the best. And, that's exactly what we've done this year. We're on pace to be, the number 9 division in the company this year in new business, number 15 in total business out of over 55 divisions. And we've done that with 4 offices. Most divisions have close to 15 offices. Next year, we're going to be promoting 21 new office managers. So some of those are student summer internship managers for the summertime. A lot of them are doing this, taking jumps into a district manager opportunity as a career position with us. But it means there's a lot of leaders being promoted, and there's also a lot of opportunities for future leaders to really get developed. And that's our biggest goal here. The 4 anchors of the Florida Coast Heat are high performance mindset, energetic leadership, ACE Weekly, and true professionalism. And, just when we talk about these, is you guys have heard this before if you were in the division meeting, but, that really is the anchors. I think if you're doing these things, if you're adopting these standards, like you're going to have a really strong performance in your career at Cutco. Having a high performance mindset is just the backbone of everything. I think, earlier, Milena, you mentioned just having goals and knowing your whys and being able to share that powerfully with customers. And I think part of it is like having a high performance mindset towards what goals you actually set for yourself. Here's a little secret. I don't think I've ever achieved any of my goals in my life, ever. I always come a little bit short. But what does that tell you about my goals? That they're usually really big. And I have a high performance mindset when I set things out for myself. So, that's the whole nature of when you go for something like a 10K push, Cam, you might not even hit 10K, but just you actually going for that and making that a serious goal and it's challenging. I promise you'll do a lot better and perform a lot harder and get a lot closer to that 10K, even if you don't hit it, than you would have if you didn't have that goal. So just making sure you have a high performance mindset and also just a high performance mindset in selling, for students. A big thing that we talk about in training, you guys probably heard your trainer or whoever talk about prices for an hour and just consumer psychology. Because as young people spending $200, $500, $1,000, it just seems like a big sale, but it's really not for an adult. If you think about any other professional sales space where people can make 6 figures a year, they're not selling $1,000 items or $2,000 items. That's like nothing in a sales world and capacity. Really, most people like our CSPs, they're trying to close 5 to 10 grand orders on most of their appointments. If you sold literally anything else, business to business or business to consumer, outside of maybe some certain retail stores, it's going to be well over $1,000. You're just trying to pitch 5 grand, 10 grand. If you guys know anyone that knocks door to door and does security alarms, those are $100,000 contracts that people are selling. Now they're again doing it over month to month, just like Cutco is. That's what people budget and finance. But having a high performance mindset of realizing, hey, $1,000 is that's just doing the job, not just learning how to sell something, on your actual performance. Energetic leadership, because sales is all energy and it's all the transfer of energy from one person to another. Learning how to master that transfer of energy, how to work better with people, I think is one of the biggest skills that you can have. It's what allows you to network, build relationships with people. It's what allows you to be a leader. It's what allows you to be a person of influence, and leading people really better than you found them. ACE Weekly, which is also the same name as my podcast. But the reason that we have that in there is just because the idea is about being an ace, or what we call in our division an A player, which is just someone that, it's a performer. It's someone that you can count on. It's someone that is a future leader that's being developed. And it's ACE Weekly because it's not enough to just be an A player one time. It's not enough to just be an A player for a push or one phone jam, or you have a big day or a big week. Anyone can do that. Really, it's truly the people that, find a lot of long-term success are the people that are consistent. with the results. It's better. It's more impressive, the person that can sell $1,000 week in and week out on the job than the person that has a $5,000 week and then goes to $200 the next week and then $100 and then they have a $3,000 week. Can you be consistent with your results over time? And then last thing is just true professionalism. And I'll just tell you guys right now, one thing that we'll talk about a little bit later, future opportunities. We have people that sell Cutco full time professionally as a career, same income structure as you, same commission structure, same product, same customers. They make 6 figures to 200K plus doing this full time as a career. And you guys are on the same pay structure, the same opportunity, same market. Everything's the same. And really the only thing is the same is that our professionals treat it in a very professional way and take it very, very seriously. And our students, most of them are doing it for like a part-time job. So the reality is that you have that same opportunity though, and so my challenge in bidding to you is really just being and acting like a professional with the position, and treating it as such. And that means probably, professionals spend time working on their crafts, professionals spend, time getting better at their skill set, practicing their presentations, making sure that they're qualifying their customers, making sure that they track how much time they're investing and, what they're actually getting out of that. Those are the types of things that professionals do. And think about all the other things that you've invested probably hundreds and thousands of hours into that you never had any intentions of being a professional at. The sports you play in high school that you no longer play now, the instruments that you played for 12 years that you no longer do now, the clubs and organizations or nonprofits you started and worked with for a couple of years and you're no longer even involved with them anymore. Or you'll do that throughout college. And there's literally thousands and thousands of hours that you invested into those times to do those things more often than not. And I'm not saying you need to invest thousands and thousands of hours, but the potential is there for you if you really treat this like a professional or treat it like anything else that you've really put a lot of work or energy into in your life. There's a lot of potential and opportunity there for you, but you have to be able to willing to invest that potential. So I'd love to get some just quick takeaways, and we'll do this throughout the day. But as we get started here, and we'll dive into today, what are just some things that you guys are noticing or taking down, or what's getting a little bit more clear for you or giving you some confidence before we get started today?
I like how you always mention in most of our meetings that we go through that 5-star college grad. That's what you guys are aiming for. That's what I want. That's what we all want. And I like how you guys always put emphasis on that those 5 stars in each of these meetings.
Yeah. And the reason why we do that, by the way, Melina, is because number one, I am very tied in and care about the success of our individuals. I think it's important to know I'm the division manager for Cutco. I also run 4 companies outside of Cutco. I don't need Cutco for my revenue streams, although it doesn't hurt. But the real reason that I do this is because I do care quite significantly about the value that our students are experiencing and how they are leaving coming out of it. Also, what I want to do is when we have 5-star college recruits, we'll talk about it a bit, what that also means is that you have opportunities, you have options, and we want to be able to create long-term options for our people here beyond when they graduate. So they have multiple 6-figure plus opportunities that are present for them at Cutco and available to them if they'd like to pursue that. And if they go on to do something else, we want them to do something bigger and better. And that also, by the way, selfishly is improving the company's resume when we have more alumni that are going out there, crushing it, kicking ass in the world that have worked with us for a couple of years and use this as the vehicle to develop themselves during that time period. So thanks for chiming in. Daniel, Cam, what's coming up for you guys?
I would probably say the heat, the high quality, all of that, just to be in a salesman, because it would bleed more into just Cutco. And like Mulaney said, the 5-star college recruit afterwards really was motivating. So
awesome. Cam?
Yeah, I really just think the opportunities that this job, like if you're good at it and you go far with it, like the opportunities after the job that you can get. I didn't really think about that going into it, but it's been
Yeah, and I'll just share with you guys too. As you're in this meeting today, you don't have to be good at the job to be good at it. What I mean by that is I'll let you all know we want you to have positive expectations coming out of training. A lot of thinking big. So I don't always share this with people because I don't want to inhibit their mindset. But I was not good at the job when I first started. I'll give you guys a little bit of background real quickly, just to maybe give you all some confidence, regardless of where you're at right now. I sold $1,000 in my first 10 days on 23 presentations. Okay. Now I sold on most of those, but my average sale was like literally $100 was all I was selling on most of my appointments. And it was like, I made like 12, 13 sales, and that's what got me to $1,000. No sets, no even like small, like not even a small starter set. For literally a month on the job is how long it took me to sell my first set. And then my first set that I sold was a signature, and that set got canceled like a day after I sold it. So I didn't get off to like a hot start. The thing is, I still finished that summer over 20 grand in sales. I still made close to 5 grand as a high school student at the time. And it set me up for some future long-term opportunities. But the bottom line is that, again, if you're treating it like a true professionalism, most professionals, like if you go into real estate or sales, if you go into insurance sales, jobs where you can make, 300 to 500 grand a year, most of them aren't even seeing like a single dollar come into their bank accounts for like 9 to 12 months. They're just like getting better and trying to learn, So that's the other thing too, is that most of y'all are new and you don't need to do the long-term route like that I did and take months to figure out the job. Like there's a lot of support, and your training, your influence that you're getting from your managers is a whole lot better than what I received. Like that was part of it, is I didn't really get a great training. So I didn't really know what the hell I was doing at first, but there's too many resources to be available to you all, that if you're not happy with the current results that you're getting, like you can totally improve. And it's not rocket science. It's a formula. You follow it and you'll get better. And there's a lot of things that are out there available for you guys to really develop some long-term sustainable skills here. So we'll dive in a little bit. I want to take the first second of today's meeting to talk to you a little bit about our opportunities that we have available to you all. And as I think a lot of you all know, it really starts with our Leadership Academy. This is my job as a division manager, is to run and coach and facilitate our Leadership Academy. This is basically our company's version of personal, professional management and growth and corporate training. So, if you go to Nike, if you go to Google, if you go to Amazon, Facebook, like they all have their versions of a Leadership Academy. What makes us unique is that, we're the #1 college recruiting company in the nation. There's no other companies that work with as many students as we do. So really TLA is all about developing people into the best version of themselves. And really we do that through teaching in the areas of time, money management. Like some of you all are going to start to, like Cam, you're probably going to, you have a 10K fast start, man, you'll be making $2 grand in your first 10 days, which I have to imagine is probably more than you ever made as a 17-year-old before in your life. And so part of that is making a lot of money. But then once you have a lot of money, learning how to invest it, learning how to save it, learning how to give it away in the right words, learning how to keep it and protect it, learning how to pay taxes, all that good stuff is things that are important to know about how to actually manage your money, energetic management, how to manage other people, be a leader, and then most importantly, how to manage yourself. So I'll let you guys in a little bit of like just kind of the steps to the vector opportunity. If you want to advance, if you want to create some long-term opportunities for yourself, I am going to go ahead and send in a couple things into our chat here for today. So the first thing that I will go ahead and send over to you all, give me 3 seconds here, and I will send this out in 3, 2, 1. Cool. So you guys should receive a document there that you can hold on to. You don't necessarily need to look at it right this second. But if you look at the sheet, the first thing that you'll see on it is the first step, okay, to really setting yourself up for some advancement and long-term opportunities. Number 1 is being here. And I know, by the way, that might not seem like a big deal, but there's a lot of people in the division that have started the job over a couple of months, and y'all are the only 3 people that were invited to this call. Now it's probably chosen because of your attitude, the potential that your manager's seeing you. You ought to be over at least $1,000 in sales. So number 1, I just want to congratulate you on being here. There's a lot of people that could have probably gone to the NFL that are football players that, quite frankly, they didn't because they weren't scouted. No one ever actually got a chance to see their talent. And, there's a lot of people that just didn't have the opportunity. So there is part of life and business is being in the right place at the right time. So you guys are here. And I think that's the first step in really just being recognized, is getting on my radar. Second step that I tell you guys before really to open up any future long-term advancement opportunities is get yourself to 30-30. That is not the goal. That's not the finish line. Like that's just the starting point. In my opinion, until you're at 10K in sales, like you're still learning the basics of how to do the job. Once you're at 10K in sales is typically when I think you've started to, build up some really like sustainable habits and performance. And then after that, it's really cool because, most of y'all just started recently. Let's say you get to 10K by the end of the break going into the spring. I mean, really, even if you're working part-time, this gives you guys an idea of really $1,000 or $2,000 is typical, fall sales performance on a weekly basis. And, it's really nice when you could be working part-time, doing maybe 5 or 7 appointments a week and still pulling in, anywhere from $300 to $600 in income. Or if you look at what happens when you get hired. Let me exit out of this. Cool. Sorry. Or what happens when you get higher in career sales is you go up to that 50%, and there's obviously some big potential that is there here as well. During the summertime is when things get really exciting for those of you guys that will be here next summer. And like typically during the summertime, $2,000 to $3,000 a week is standard like benchmarks of weekly performance. So that's the first step, is really like everything starts to get to dirty 30. So you have to get there first. Number one. Number two, second thing that you can do just in being future advancement opportunities is being a team builder. And what I mean when I say be a team builder, by the way, like I know probably all of you, did the thing where you recommend people and, can recommend some people via an app on the phone and training. But I'll tell you what, right now, you become a very, very valuable asset to most companies, almost more so than just having skills when you are a team builder. When I think about, Heidi Gamboa, who is Jeff Gamboa's wife, who's my colleague that runs the other part of Florida. And she's a high-powered doctor, gastrointestinal doctor for Miami Children's. And when she was recruited, she was originally up in the Northeast, and they brought her down. Like Heidi was a very valuable asset to this hospital, not just because she was a kick-ass doctor and they were going to get her, but they also knew that Heidi was very well connected in the Northeast with a lot of other powerful doctors that they wanted to be able to recruit. And if we get Heidi Gamboa, we might be able to get some of these other people in the door also, as well as on our team. You're going to be a better lawyer when that law firm knows, hey, we might get this person, but they know a bunch of other attorneys that we could get on our team here that would really kick some butt if we could get them. If you're a sports team, there's like the good players, and then there's those players that have the certain level of like clout or relationships with the rest of the players that they're like, hey, but if we get this person, it's not just their performance. It's the fact that other people are going to want to be on this team if this person's on this team, and we're going to be able to build a power team around them. You just become instrumentally more valuable to any company, corporation, or if you're an entrepreneur and you want to start your own business, just learning how to recruit, be a team builder, get people on the team. I think it's just a really, really valuable skill to have in your resume, in your arsenal. So if you're excited about being a team builder, ask your manager, just what can I do to become a team builder right now? And the skill set that you're able to develop when you're able to be a recruiter, when you're able to be a team builder, it really poises you well to be in a future management or leadership opportunity. That's one of the things that we just instantly look for. It's hard to like run your own, Cutco office if you have trouble even getting one of your friends to like, get excited about starting the job. So it's a good skill to have. And it really also just looks good, I think, on your Cutco and TLA resume for advancement opportunities. So typically the structure, by the way, is that 1K in sales, you're able to come to a meeting like this. Once you get to 3K in sales, you could actually be invited to our local TLA weekly preps. We do those every single Wednesday throughout the spring from 5 to 6 o'clock before we start our team meetings. So that's only eligible if you're at 3K in sales. You just have to get an invitation from your manager. At 6K in sales, you can be qualified for an assistant manager internship opportunity, which is really when things start to get exciting with the position. And then at 10K in sales, you're able to officially qualify to have an interview for our leadership academy and potentially get accepted for that here as well. So once you move up through the levels of advancement, really the first thing is to be an assistant manager intern, which honestly, as an assistant manager intern, you're getting most of the experience that an assistant manager gets. It's just way less hours, way less commitment, and you're just not paid for it. Meaning, it's probably only a couple hours of exposure and experience on a weekly basis, but you're really starting to learn quite a lot in your role. You start to develop your resume in a very significant way as an AMI, and it can just be a good taste of management and future leadership to come. This is the pool of people that we choose our assistant managers from. So by the time that someone gets to become an assistant manager, it's not like you're thrown into the fireplace and have no idea what to do, or you've already gotten usually a little taste of experience, for a couple months as an AMI before you actually jump into a full-time paid assistant manager role. But they do things in helping support with our interviews, choosing some of our applicants for the position, helping support with training, field trainings, leading the way, learning how to do PR setting, all the good stuff that a lot of our managers do. And you got to be at 6K in sales minimum, be consistently hitting the weekly newsletter in the spring and fall, which is just $750 a week, and show some signs of team building. That's typically what we like. And obviously the last thing is attitude, which is also just as important here too. From there, you can become an assistant manager. By the way, I will put this out to you all now, even though you're just starting. I'll just tell you right now, every single year we have multiple individuals that start over the winter break and are some of our key players as assistant managers during the summer of the next summer. And I'll tell you, as assistant managers, is a really good opportunity during the summertime. Most of our assistant managers, to give you guys an idea, are making 10 grand on the low end, but most of them are making average of 15. Our top performers making anywhere from 20 to 30. Or I think the very top assistant managers that performed at a high level last summer made close to $40,000 just during the summertime as college students. What is more important than just the income, though, is the experience, the resume development, and really the people that our assistant managers turn and develop into through the course of going through that program during the summertime. It's also a ton of fun, and it's a really, really, again, I don't think there's much other experience that compares to it outside of probably becoming a branch manager, which this is the premier opportunity inside of Cutco that we offer. This is the premier opportunity. This is what I was obsessed with when I was in college. And a branch manager is essentially an entrepreneurial internship opportunity with the company where someone, typically 18 to 24 years old is going down to a respective territory or location and opening up their own, branch office with the company for the summertime. So they are in charge of all recruiting operations, hiring and training a social media recruiting assistant team, developing all the representatives that come from the summertime. It is all a virtually ran branch, so you can do it really from any city, anywhere. But it's a 3 to 4 month internship opportunity that happens during the course of the summertime. Our branch managers make more than our assistant managers, just to give you an idea. Part of it's based off of real performance, but they have the opportunity to profit. It's kind of like, you can run a franchise with the company. You can also run a startup. Those are two typical businesses that you can start. When you do a startup, usually it's very high risk. There's not a proven program. You're kind of trying to figure it out. And there's usually a lot of initial costs and a lot of time that gets invested into it. The problem is there's usually a very, very high potential upside, and also, not a lot of clear results. Like, it's not guaranteed by any means. When you open up a franchise with a company, typically it's almost, it's not guaranteed, but you're following a proven, the program and formulas and the products have already been set up for you. If I'm going to go open a Smoothie King franchise, so what I would do is I pay 200 grand to Smoothie King to open up a franchise with them. They give me their logos, they give me the recipes, they can supply some of the products, and I just pay for the overhead expenses and pay them basically a percentage off of my Smoothie King's operation stores. So this is kind of cool because it's a combination both between the startup and franchise model, except we already have proven programs and formulas. We already have everything set up for everyone. You don't have to figure anything out. And then on top of that, you actually get the opportunity. The company gives you money, gives our people money to get their offices started, and opened up close to $6,000 to be able to get things teed up and ready to rock and roll here. I think we have someone, our standing is hopping on here late, but we'll keep moving on here too. So branch managers really are, again, our premier opportunity inside of Cutco. Actually, I'll give you guys some personal examples here too. This is let me see real quickly here. This is Luke Maseko. So this is a really cool photo that I like to share. Luke Maseko is one of my good friends. He runs the district office now in Boca Raton, Florida. But Luke Maseko actually started off, when I started off for his first summer on the job was in Fort Lauderdale. I was actually Luke Maseko's assistant manager there in that summer. And the next summer, he ended up becoming the assistant manager in Fort Lauderdale. I went and opened up my first branch office while I was in college in Boca Raton, Florida. Funny, fast forward the next summer, Luke opened up the branch office in Boca Raton the next summer, and I was running a branch office in Miami that next summer. But really, really cool to see someone at a young age literally, open up their own office space, have their name on the door, and really develop and kick some butt over the summertime too. These are some of our top branch managers from 2020, both Mason Linker in the Tampa office, number 4 or 5 in the company, out of over 350 plus offices that do this during the summertime. And then Jonathan Castell, his first time running a branch. Mason has ran one twice. We'll run a third branch this upcoming summer. Jonathan, his first summer doing it, sold over 280 grand as a branch op manager, and was number 10 in the company his first summer out. So the example that I kind of give people as we're getting started here today is typically, I saw a quote one time, and it's always kind of stuck with me a little bit, especially as society continues to develop and we continue to have like employment problems and things like that for post-college grads. And it's really like, most people, when you hear, and it's not that 6 figures is really a lot of money, or, it's the number, but that's the number that a lot of people associate value and attach to. When I talk to college students, like when I was in college, everyone's always, graduate, how do I get a consulting degree, or, go into IB or something, or, an engineer, like something I'm going to be making 6 figures my first year out of college. And that, by the way, happens for very, very few people. And in reality, things actually get all said and done. Hold on, let me exit out of this. Sorry. Got more sales being called in. Happens for very few people, but what's better, I guess, is the question. Working for 30, 40, 50 years, to eventually make 6 figures, and you'll get some, bonuses and some salary increases as the year goes on. And maybe after, 15 years, 10 years, you're making 6 figures plus now. Or maybe working while you're in college for 2 to 3 years throughout college to really help you gain the skills that will allow you to become a lot more marketable and make a lot more money in the actual future here too. And that really, for me, that's what the branch manager program does. Our branch managers make a lot of money, but you don't do it for the money. You really do it for the experience that our representatives and our people get, and how much more marketable it makes them for their pre-med applications and interviews, for their post-college graduate interviews and tours, especially when you can say that you have that type and level of experience. Most people can't even say when they're 35 years old that they've ever managed 50 people or 100 people, let alone, recruiting over 100 students during the course of the summertime. So it's really a great interview talking point, and more importantly, it's a great leadership development opportunity for our people. And the premier opportunity that we have, not premier opportunity, that is really branch, but the number one position in our division is our pilot sales manager position and role. This is the most important position in our division. Basically, each and every single year, I have to pick the most elite position in all Leadership Academy, and it's a direct apprenticeship with myself over the course of the year. I have 8 months to pick the number one trained candidate in the division, the highest regarded candidate. And right now, that is currently Jonathan Castell will be our pilot sales manager for the summer of 2020. So especially if you're working in a sort of assistant manager capacity or anything else like that, you will be working in some capacity with Jonathan Castell. And this is not a position that any of you all would be eligible for next summer, maybe even not even the summer after that. But typically, it's someone that's already ran a branch office or at least been a high-powered assistant manager in the past. And I do share this with you all because, my SLDM, again, is the future leadership of the division. So when I see people on these calls, even though it might not be anything in your whereabouts right now, you never know. It's always going to be someone from one of these meetings is going to be the next pilot sales manager here as well. So there's something important that I like to tap on. Those are some future opportunities in here. So as we go throughout today, what I'd like you all to do is all participate in the actual group chat here. And, whenever you've probably heard this in training or from any of your other managers, I'm sure it's probably not the first time that you've heard or seen some of this stuff. But we talk about light bulb moments, which is just when you have a moment of clarity, when you have a moment of, maybe an aha moment, or, oh, okay, cool, that gives me some confidence or some clarity, or that's something that stuck out to me. We call those light bulb moments. And for me, I'd like you guys to be able to post in the group chat today as light bulbs come up and as things come up for you guys, just what's kind of landing home with you. And I'm just curious to know what are some things that are coming up for you guys as well here too. So let me take a quick second before I keep moving on. What are any light bulbs before we continue on here today? And I know you guys are posting them up right now too. Feel free to share or expand on any of them if you're posting one right now. What's
I sent in the chat "be here." That really stuck with me because there's only a few of us here, as you said. There was a lot of recruits, but only us are in this video. To be here, that's a great opportunity, and only people invited are us right here. Again, we had to make that certain benchmark.
Yep, and I'll tell you what, there's a lot of you want to be in these meetings more often. We have a lot of these meetings that, like, there's the meetings that everyone goes to, and there's the meetings that certain people get invited to. And the more and more that you can make a habit of yourself being an A player and being in those meetings, making the cut to the extra meetings, the champions clubs, the little things like that are not required and optional, but you could go to them. It's more time that you're investing into the role. but I'll tell you what, I've never had anyone that I don't think it's panned out for. And usually the people that are in those little extra meetings are also the ones that are making quite a little bit of extra income over everybody else. So being here helps. It also helps too. Like things like, look, I'll tell you guys right now, Puerto Rico, which I know you guys excited about trying to hit the trip. Cool. Even if you're not excited about hitting the trip, like we have some people in our division that are like, Andrew, I don't like to travel. I'm like, all right, well, I don't get that because I love to travel, but that's cool. And also like there's still value in hitting the trip. Like you might not it might not be the most exciting thing to you, but I'll tell you what, like there's going to be separation that happens from those meetings. Like there's people that like y'all are connected with me for an hour. Imagine being and spending a weekend with me in Puerto Rico. It's a little bit different, the relationships that are be able to build. And there are certain things that come out of those meetings. Typically what I find is the people that make it to these type of meetings, they usually are the ones that keep making it to the rest of the ones, so just being in the right place, the right time. Any other light bulbs before we continue on?
Team builder is as or more important as the best employee.
Yeah. It's definitely something we look at in terms of advancement. It's not doesn't necessarily make you a lot more. There's a bunch of prizes and cool opportunities from it that we guys hook you guys up with, but there's not necessarily more money to be made from there. But if you want, number one, just to hook up friends and also just set yourself up for advancement opportunities, I'll tell you what, I've had people before that have actually struggled in the sales capacity, but they've just gotten a lot of friends in the team and really kicked ass with that. And I want them as an assistant manager the next summer. I'm like, we can work on the sales, we can get your skills better. But if you're a team builder, that's something that's a quality that, is really, really strong. And we want to build around those types of people here too. So always something that you can do here as well. Cam, did you want to chime in or I was going to move on?
Yeah, I just wrote get to assistant manager as soon as possible because that kind of seems where you need to be to continue to develop in this company. So get there and keep going.
Yes, sir. And you're, like I said, Cam, honestly, even for you, man, like you're buddies with Tyler. Tyler's going to open up his own district office next summer, so there could be an opportunity for you to potentially even be working with him next summer as an assistant manager in that type of role, or in the Miami office. But could be a good experience for you here too. And you guys are on the right track to be able to create those opportunities for yourself. But make sure, again, you got to get on my radar and also talk to your managers about how to set yourself up for that too. One thing that I'll talk about for our students that, this is our Go Through College. This is really the program that we run for people. If you want to be, there's certain people that know exactly what they want, like in life, like, Jonathan Castell, he wants to be a cardiothoracic surgeon. He knows when he graduates. He knows when he wants to go to med school. He knows what he wants. So it's very detailed to the point, exactly what he wants to do. Some people have no idea and they're in college and they're still like switching their majors every semester. And now they're like sophomores and they've been doing that for like 2 years. Most people have like a general sense, you pick your major that sounds the most exciting and relevant to you. And you have a pretty good idea of what maybe the direction that you want to go in or what maybe you want to do. But Go Through College is basically for our students that make the decision that, this is the vehicle that I'm going to use throughout my college years just to make the money that I want to make and to develop my skill set. Once you hit 30%, I'll tell you guys, there's just not really, I don't want to say there's nothing out there, but like, I know a lot of Fortune 500 CEOs and different people and lots of people that have really good programs for young people. And there's just not many places where you'll ever be able to make the same amount of money. Even if you hit 30 while you're a freshman in college, like next 3 years, you're never going to make the same type or level of money as fast once you're at higher percentages. And then, using this as a vehicle to really develop your skill set, regardless of what your major actually is, that's what our Go Through College is. And I remember my first summer, I never had any intentions of doing this beyond like just a summer job when I first started. And I'd say, hey, I don't know, being an assistant manager is kind of cool. I did it for like another year. And then there's a certain point in college that I was like, hey, I'm just going to do this for the next couple of years. Like I'm going to do I see where I could be if I actually stuck with this in 3 or 4 years and what that could set me up for. And so I pursued it throughout my college years. Now doing it beyond college was a separate decision. But originally I just had the intention of, hey, I'm going to use this as a vehicle for myself while I'm in college to really create some good opportunities for myself beyond that too. And this represents a typical Cutco collegiate track. If you're here with us, you're usually your first summer, your first spring or winter break, just about selling and earning a spot. That's the first thing too, is to be a leader, to be a performer in a leadership organization, you've got to be good at the performance first. If you want to be the captain of the basketball team, you've got to be you can't just be a good coach, you need to be a good player. You need first and foremost, you need to be the best player on the team first and foremost before you're actually the one leading that organization. So the first step is really just selling, building up your skill set, earning a spot into our leadership academy. The second summer, typically what people do on the job is really our premier opportunity as a branch manager. And you can see people can do that multiple summers in a row throughout college. It's a different experience every single time. I ran 3 branch offices within Cutco. Each and every single year was a completely different experience for me. And the first summer, I really learned how to build a business. Second summer, I learned how to grow a business. And the third summer, I learned how to really scale a business. And that, by the way, is exactly what has allowed me to create multiple companies outside of Cutco and really know exactly what to do. Because I've had 3 different runs, actually way more than that, of starting and opening up a business and getting it off the ground and knowing how to scale it out from there. Now, a lot of people really, if you want to move into advancement, there's not just a management track. There is a full-time selling route. A lot of our students don't really desire to manage or lead other people. They just they like autonomy. They like making a lot of money. They like having a flexible personal schedule. They like working one-on-one with clients. They like our products a lot. And, those are the people that move into more of what we call field sales manager, which is not a professional position, but that's while still in college. Being a field sales manager means you make 50% of what you make. We have people that do that. And they just sell Cutco full time throughout the year, even while they're in college students. They'll sell 20, 30 grand in the spring, make 10 to 15 grand, 20, 30 grand in the fall, make another 10 to 15 grand in the summer. They'll sell close to 50 grand and they're making like 80 grand a year, while they're college students just selling Cutco. But I will say most people that end up going that route also ran a branch office. And even if you want to go into the full-time selling route, it's usually just such a stellar experience for the way it develops you personally that it will probably make you better at selling Cutco. And also will set you up for some future leadership opportunities. But and then when our people graduate, whether that's after 2 summers, 3, 4, 5 summers, if you're in high school, we just want to have 2 really killer opportunities for our people here, being a district manager, CSP, or of course going out and being a 5-star college recruit. And obviously, as a lot of y'all know, we've won a lot of awards over the years. And I really think, a lot of the awards that we've received recently, it's not because our students make a lot of money, although they do make a lot of money. It's just because of the people that hire our people after they graduate college just know the types of levels and experience that they're coming. We're getting, recognized by Forbes and Business Insider and USA Today and all these other great companies because of our leadership development, not just because our students make a lot of money or because it's a flexible job. Although those are some cool perks that I think come along with it here too. So again, I'll just tell you all right now, if you want to get there, I'm going to give you guys some keys to success. Really, the first one before we go to break is you just got to get to 30-30. That's where life begins at 30-30. And I also want to share with you all some post-college opportunities here as well. This is not my drop out of college or change your major degree conversation at all. Although if you're like one of those people that's like, yeah, I don't really know this whole virtual, COVID college, I think it's, it's not necessarily for me, then feel free to talk to me. Like I've got people that are graduating from high school this year and going and moving into career opportunities with us as a company. But it's always good, in my opinion, to be able to choose than to have people choose for you. And that's different. When you have options, you get to choose from your options versus when you don't have options, like your choice is usually being made without really a lot of decision on your behalf. So there's a couple different options that I would write down here. These are the options that we have for people that have worked with us throughout college and are graduating or moving into a career type opportunity with us. First one is as a Cutco sales professional. These are people that sell Cutco full-time as independent Cutco sales reps with a company. And they have everything you have access to, but they also have different programs. Like we have our branding and gifting program. That's actually what my mom was a physical therapist for my whole life. And about 2 years ago, she wanted to have a little midlife crisis. I think she wanted to make a little bit more money than she was making and also just have a little bit different interaction with people. So that was a little more energizing. So she chose to start selling Cutco. And she's a CGC, which is a Cutco closing gift consultant. So they do branding gifts, business gifts to loan officers, mortgage brokers, realtors, different lenders, really anyone that owns a business and wants branded tools for their business. They have our CGC opportunity. We have people that do fairs and shows like the Miami Boat Show. At Epcot last year, we sold over $1 million in sales just doing like these people will literally go out there, work some booths during Epcot and sell close to 100 grand personally in like a month, and they'll make 50% of whatever they sell. during that time period too. So there's all sorts of different programs we have available to our CSPs. Here's what I would write down in your notes for CSP. I would write down flexibility. I'd write down high income. And I would write down independence. Very, very flexible. The cool thing about our CSP position is there is no vacation days. There is no, hey, here's when you get off. There is no even requesting on when you get the time off. There's a lot of autonomy that comes in the position. So if you want to grind your butt off and work super hard on January and February, then take off for the month of March and go travel, like you can do that as a CSP. Which is kind of cool. And we have different people that do different programs. Some people are very consistent year round. They do a 9 to 5 type job Monday through Friday. That's it. We have other people that will go big at certain points and then barely do anything for several weeks, in between then and have a little more personal autonomy. So that's kind of a cool, CSP is a really cool opportunity, especially if you want to ever go into something like entertainment or art or dancing or something that like is a little bit more harder to really make a stable income or something like that too. It can be a really good opportunity and vehicle to use for several years out of college to make you some good money, develop your resume, maybe while you're pacing or positioning or transitioning to something else. And then our district manager position, this is our career opportunity with the company. It's really a district manager does the exact same things that a branch manager would do, which is why it's so good experience. But they run it, it's not just a summer internship, it's a full-time year-round job. So they run a career office with our company. All of you all are district offices right now. And we have different types of district managers. We have like the Eddie de las Cuevas of the world, like in Clearwater, who are using this as kind of as like the Vector MBA, to really get some really good business experience for 3 to 5 years, probably before he moves on to something else, and then we have other people that do this as like a long-term career opportunity. Mike Imbramos has been a district manager for over a decade, and he loves what he does as a district manager here as well. This is a little bit of our district manager and executive team going into last summer. What I write down for a district manager, being a DM is kind of like being a really high paid teacher. It's kind of like the joke that we make. You're working with students, you're coaching young people. You're just probably making a little bit more money than teachers do. The average, income of a DM is 6 figures, and some of them are making a lot more than that. And you get the personal satisfaction of just coaching and mentoring young people. There's other perks too, like the company gets free black BMWs to all our district managers. There's Rolexes that you can win. There's all sorts of different stuff there too. But I would write down 2 key words for DM is high income and then mentorship / coaching. If you have a desire to coach, help, impact other people, you do that a lot as a district manager. So, it can be really, really good if you have a desire to just impact, coach, teach young people, work with young people. It's a really cool opportunity there too. So going forward, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm actually going to send you guys a quick district manager pay packet. This is what our district managers get compensated. I'm going to send this all to you all, most of you all. This is not really something to consider, but for a couple of years down the road, for most people that are probably on this call actually today, but I do like to share it with you all so you actually have that here as well. And most of y'all are going to be in one of 3 boats. Like some of y'all will be like, hey, no way I would ever do anything like this. Like, too cool for school. That's cool. No big deal. Second group is probably 2 people that like, there might be some people on here that, hey, maybe school's not for me and you're not maybe choosing the traditional college student path. And honestly, these are opportunities that can be available to you. You don't need to have a college degree to become a CSP or a district manager. There's definitely other qualifications that we look for and want to have ready, but having a degree is not necessarily one of them. And most people of you all, you've got several years before you graduate college. There's just some long-term thinking. And I just want to be able to help you guys create some options for yourself. And in my opinion, it's always better to have more options, again, be able to choose, than have not a lot of options there too. I'd rather have someone have the options of 2 great, fulfilling 6-figure plus opportunities for themselves out of college and go do something else versus them not have really any of those type of opportunities. So what I'll tell you guys is I'm looking for aces. I'm looking for A players, people that don't play to be good, but really play to be great. When people sell Cutco, they typically, know that, hey, the best place to go sell Cutco is in South Florida. And I'm looking for A players and aces to be that, CPO talks. I can't really hear what you're saying until you start selling. Nothing really matters, quite honestly, if you have a lot of heart and desire, but until you start actually performing. And as we actually go down to break, here's what I would write down real quickly as we go to break here, and I'll have you guys post some light bulbs and debriefs. Number one, what's the most exciting thing for you right now coming out of this meeting? When I hear about these opportunities, you guys heard a lot about opportunities, AMI, assistant manager, being a team builder, district manager. CSP, all sorts of different types of things, being a branch manager in the summertime. I'm just curious to know, what's the most exciting for you real quickly, and what's exciting for you coming out of this meeting. So during the break, I want you guys to write down a couple light bulbs. You can post those onto WhatsApp, and post them with your full name and the office that you're in, and then your light bulb. And we'll do a quick 10-minute break here. During the break, in the notes, I would probably just write down a little bit of like, hey, what do I want? What am I excited about? How am I going to get there? And then who do I need to talk to? So what do you want coming out of this meeting? How are you going to actually get there? What's the plan? And then who do you need to talk to? Probably your managers. And I'd maybe send them a quick text or connect with them a little bit over the break if anything from this first session stuck out to you. And then when we come back, we're going to dive a little bit more into some fun stuff with some advanced recommendations. So because today's a shorter meeting, we're just going to do a quick little 5-minute break, and just give you guys some time to use the restroom or get some water if you need to. So we'll take 5 real quickly. At 11:08, we'll dive back in, and we're going to dive into some advanced skill set here for you all to make sure you're really coming out of this meeting swinging full blaze in here too. So take a quick break, post your light bulbs, jot those things down, maybe connect with your manager, and we will get started here in just a couple seconds.
This time I've gone too far. No chance that you're looking back. The apple that fell in your garden won't stop growing through your trees. Careless, but am I good for you? Good for you like this. Can you get me out of my head? This tunnel vision. Can you get me out of my head? Out of my head. This tunnel vision, can't see through it.
All right, 1 minute, gang. 1 minute. All right, and we are back. So we're gonna go ahead and continue on here. Next part of your notes, second objective today. Let's get ready to increase some Cutco skill set here. So here's the first thing I'm gonna dive into today. You're probably initially thinking that what I'm about to teach you today is gonna be centered around something about how to sell more or sell bigger sets. Honestly, the majority of today, we're gonna talk about recommendations and how to get more recommendations. And part of that, what you'll quickly realize with this job, guys, is that is the job. That is the name of the game. Okay. If you're good at getting recommendations and you're good at the recommendation process and getting a lot of them consistently, everything else is easier. When you get, by the way, I've sold Cutco, I've sold homemakers in mansions, I've sold homemakers literally in trailer parks, 4x4 trailers before. Okay. I firmly believe you can sell Cutco to anyone as long as they have a job. And if they have a family, like people can afford Cutco, it just depends if they want to actually afford it. Second thing though, is there is better customers than others. Okay. And getting good recommendations, getting consistent recommendations, having recommendations that are texted ahead of time and already teed up for you to be able to do a presentation and also already make a sale makes a job a whole lot easier with a long-term sustainable process. When you're constantly like, looking for people to always call and you're always like, who am I going to call? That makes the job a whole lot harder, no matter how good you are at your presentation and actually presenting itself. So what you'll quickly notice about our good reps on our team, okay, is that they value recommendations more than they value just making a sale. Recommendations are more important to them. And that's the biggest difference between new reps and our veterans on their teams, is that new reps are all excited about the sales. Our vet reps are all excited about the recommendations that they get on those presentations. So that's the first thing that I want to tell you guys. So I'm going to give you guys some keys today on really how to improve your recommendation process. And if people buy Cutco, they have to like two things. Okay. Number one, they have to like the product. They have to like and want to purchase Cutco. The second thing they need to do is they have to like the sales rep. Okay. Both are important. If someone likes the product, but doesn't like the sales rep, then they're probably going to get something, but they're not going to get as much as they would have bought if they would have actually really enjoyed that person and been invested into their goals as well. Second thing is also if someone really likes the rep, but doesn't really like the product, that's called a pity sale. That's when they buy like a knife, to help you out because they like you, but they're not too excited about Cutco here. So here's the deal. A lot of representatives want everything to be professional. They want their customers to be a little bit more professional for them. They want to make professional types levels of income, but then they don't want to do a real professional presentation. So here's the biggest difference, by the way, between an amateur and a professional. Okay. Besides the fact that the professional makes more money and gets paid more, what separates an amateur from a professional is that professionals, okay, they spend more time practicing and rehearsing than they do performing. They spend more time in practice than they do in the performance of it. Think about anyone that you like a professional sports, like how much of an NFL's career is actually spent playing games. I mean, there's a lot of games, but it's a very small amount of time compared to the practice, the training, the preseason, the dieting, the weightlifting, the video watching. There's a lot more that goes into that than the actual time that they spend on the field playing the game. If you're an actor, most of your hours are spent rehearsal, not in performance. If you're anything, a lawyer, like very rarely what a lawyer is trying to do is to go speak in court and go fight a court case. 90% of the legal cases that they get are settled before they even get into court. A lot of it is on the pregame and working on their skill set there, so they don't actually ever have to go to court. Professionals spend more time practicing than they do actually performing. And that's the big difference here too, is that I'm not going to say you need to spend 30 hours practicing and then 10 hours doing demos. But my first tip for you is, number one, have a power hour in your schedule each week. We call it power hour, which is just, 1 hour dedicated towards your Cutco business that is not booking appointments and it's not doing presentations, but an hour each week in your schedule, where I'd say half of that is just mapping out your schedule and goals for the week, making sure hey, how many demos do I want to do? What's my schedule set up? What are my goals for the upcoming week? And making sure you have some serious direction and goal planning. Again, the biggest thing about this job, where I see people struggle, is that you don't have you get to make your own schedule, but you still have to have a schedule. Okay. Not having a schedule is not a key to success. When you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, the biggest thing that people struggle with when they're starting something, newer as an entrepreneur, I even have buddies that have started companies and they struggle with this too, is that if you're a business owner, okay, you still need to schedule your time like you're the employee of your business. Meaning you don't just wake up and just kind of do whatever you feel like each day. You need to literally tell yourself, hey, from 9 to 11, Andrew, you're running this business, but you're an employee now. So you're doing this to 9 to 11, then you're doing this to 11 to 2. You're doing this. You have to schedule your own time, not just I don't have a schedule because I'm the business owner. I'll just do whatever I feel like. There's still a schedule that has to go into place and having some goals. Second thing is just taking half an hour each week to watch some videos, script some videos, get a little bit better at the position, practice on your presentation, role play with a partner, or just read through it to yourself, making sure that you're going good through it. Whenever I would start a big sales push, I always had a couple hours in my schedule to really rehearse my presentation, get good at it, make sure I felt really confident before going to presentations, rehearsing my goal sharing. So I knew literally word for word what I was going to say when I shared my goals with my customers, not just going to talk about it and hopefully it comes out well. Really making sure I knew what I was going to say. And again, sales, most of it is confidence. I'm telling you guys right now, most of it comes out to how much confidence you have going into that presentation. Do you expect your customers to buy from you? Because again, not just the whole, there's an element that's the law of attraction, what you expect creates reality. There's also the other element of just human psychology. And that when someone, when you expect your customers to buy, they feel better about it and they trust you more. Okay. And I'll just tell you guys this right now, when reps come on and you give subconsciously, it's not usually the customers aren't usually aware of it. It just feels a little weird. They feel off. They trust you less because it doesn't seem like what you actually say you believe in. You're reading a script and you don't actually seem like you believe what you're saying. You don't have that confidence that you're expecting them to buy. When you expect them to buy, it makes the customers trust you more because it means you know what you're talking about. It means you know what you're saying. And they also end up buying usually more because you treat them well, you expect them to buy, and they feel like there's more confidence in them actually doing it because of that. So that's the first thing, is just making sure you have confidence and continue to practice your skill set. Here's the, when the customer goes, well, Daniel, I don't know, why should I get the signature set instead of just buying these 2 or 3 knives? If you don't know how to answer that question, you're probably not going to sell a signature set, but when you know how to handle that objection, they're probably going to end up buying instead too. So if you really want to sell and get a lot of recommendations, number one, they have to like you and you have to do a professional presentation. So how do you get someone to actually like you and be comfortable with you? It's easy when you're starting with someone that or someone that you already have a relationship with, but especially as you start to see people that you don't know, it all comes down to the rapport building, which is something that's not talked a lot about in training, but it's one of the most important parts of the presentation, especially when, by the way, the video is doing half the selling for you. So your presentation really, guys, comes down to, it literally is rapport building, playing the video and getting really excited, and then closing. That's it. The 2 things that you got to get good at are building rapport and doing the close very, very well. The rest of it is just play the videos, show the knives, read this paper, and get really, really excited as you talk about it. Okay, that's really the rest of the presentation. It's just, can you get really good at building connection with customers? Can you really get good at closing confidently, comfortably, and coolly? So here's some keys on rapport building. Okay, now, and I don't know about you all, for any of you guys that just started the presentation, here's the other thing too. When I got started, the hard part about the presentation was not doing the presentation. Once I got started, it was fine. The hard part about the presentation was starting the presentation and just that awkward transition between me hopping on the call with them and actually getting in the flow of it. Once I'm doing the presentation, it's pretty smooth sailing, but I don't know, can maybe y'all relate to that at all? Okay, cool. So I'm going to give you guys some keys on how to really start. The presentation does not have to be awkward at the beginning to start. And also look, the reality is when you're a new rep, we give you the words, but you shouldn't have to read a script at the beginning to introduce yourself. Okay. You should probably be able to get that part, confident and down. So I'm going to teach you guys something real quickly. I'll just do it. Here's how I'll just do it for you once. This is how I would start my presentation. Okay. If I were all of you all, let me pull up my vectordemo.com or your Cutco demo. Okay. Now, typically, again, the best thing to do is have the customer screen share, but I'll usually start off with me screen sharing the presentation. So let me start off with this number one. Here, Milena, can you role play with me? You're gonna be my customer, right? So I'll go ahead and let me open this up real quickly here, and I'll just do it once for you guys. If you want to, I think Cam, were you recording some voice notes or something? All right, cool. Yeah, if you want to record this, Steve, feel free to. All right, I'll go ahead and get started. So usually, all right, I just finished building rapport, 80% about them, 20% about me. Now I'm transitioning to the presentation. Like I'm transitioning from like talking and getting to know them to now like, let me start. Okay, so all right, great, Mina. Glad you're doing so great. Well, let me go ahead and just queue up my presentation real quickly here. And Ms. Jones, can you see my screen all right now?
Yes, I can. I see the knives.
Perfect. And actually, you know what? Before I even get started today, Ms. Jones, I really just wanted to take a quick second just to thank you for taking out your time to see my presentation right now. I know it's the holidays. I know things are crazy busy. The kids are getting out of school, exams, like all that stuff. So I know you're really busy. And it just means a lot that you take the time out to actually see me today. I called like 20 people last week, and you were so sweet to me on the phone. And thanks for being my favorite aunt as well. So I really appreciate you making the time here. Now, let me ask you: Have you heard of Cutco before?
No, I haven't heard of Cutco before.
Oh, all right. Well, perfect. Then you're in for a treat. Cutco's the bomb, Ms. Jones. By the end of every presentation, everyone wants to get a set of this stuff. But I'll let you know too. Like I'm not, like you obviously know me. You're my aunt, Miss Jones. Like I'm not a knife salesperson. I definitely don't plan on selling knives for my entire life, and that's not why I decided to do this. Actually, the reason why I started working with the company, Miss Jones, is just to get a little bit more experience on my resume. Number one, I'm a pre-med major right now, so I've got 3 years before I graduate from college. And where most people that I'm going to be graduating with, they're going to do the residencies, they're going to do the shadowing, the internships, the same thing, the same coursework. But I really want to have something on my resume that's going to allow me to stick out and stand out from the rest of my peer group when I'm going through that interviewing process. And really having something like this that's quantitative and having tangible success and results with it, I really think it's going to help me do that. It's expanding my ability to communicate with people. I'm going to be going on med school interviews with people that are, twice my age, just learning how to speak better with adults, building up those relationships now. And it's also a way for me to, take a little bit of the financial burden off my parents for school. And that's a really big reason why I kind of got started with the job, Ms. Jones. And by the way, do you mind if I share some of my goals with you?
I don't mind at all. Of course, go ahead.
For sure?
For sure.
All right, awesome. Well, I'm really glad that you said that, Ms. Jones, because again, I just started this job, and right now I'm in a huge competition called my Fast Start contest. And all right, let me stop there for a quick second. So that's the transition here. By show of hands, how many is that a lot smoother than what y'all have been doing? Okay, cool. So here's the deal. That wasn't just like suave or me crushing it. I just literally followed the formula. I'm going to give you guys the formula here for today. Before I do that, what are a couple things that y'all noticed or took away from that?
I noticed that you were going into the demo, then you were like, wait a second. And then you stopped it and you took your share screen down and you went one-on-one and talked to her, like thanked her. You're like, you know what? I've been calling so many people. You were so nice when we talked on the phone. I really appreciate this.
Yep, I love that you noticed that. It's called the open and close. I did that on purpose, started it and stopped the presentation, and then generally thanking the customer. What else are some things that you all noticed?
You made the customer feel unique. Like, oh, I called 20 people last week, but you were so nice. So made the customer feel special. Like this was the one like you were really looking forward to out of 20 others.
Yep, love it. What else? Anything else you guys notice?
Just really making them feel like, like you really appreciate that they took the time out of their day for the presentation, and like showing them how much you appreciate it and like sharing your goals with them and stuff.
Yeah, just generally thank them here as well. So let me give you guys the formula for this, okay? For advanced rapport building. So, and I would take some notes on this. The first thing that you got to do is number one, okay, the first thing we do is something called the open/close, okay? And the reason that I did that, that's something that Milena noticed right away. What I actually did when I started it, so I'll say, oh, okay, Ms. Jones, let's go ahead and get started. And again, I start sharing their screen, even though I'm going to have the customer share their screen after this. By the way, after I finish sharing my goals, I want them to share their screen so their video is higher quality when they're watching it and not a shared screen version of the video. Little tip there for you. But I'll start the presentation because here's the deal. Once I have this thing up and I'm sharing my screen, okay, this now represents what? Like the demo, the business. Like this represents business, right? When I have this down, it's not really business. I'm just talking to him. There's not really, I'm not like, as soon as this comes up, it's like, all right, Mr. Jones, now I am trying to sell you some stuff. Okay. I'm actively doing the business portion. I'm trying to sell you. So what I literally want to do is I'll actually sometimes the middle rapport, like even cut the customer off a little bit. I'm like, all right, Ms. Jones, well, we're going to go ahead and get started and I'll pull up the presentation. Can you see this? All right, Ms. Jones? Awesome. And then I'll go, actually, you know what? Before I even start, I actually just want to take a quick second just to thank you for taking out the time to see my presentation today, Ms. Jones. And so what you'll do after that, so you literally open the presentation, close it down, and then the first thing you'll say is thank you. Now, by the way, you'll notice there is no script that I gave you for thanking the customer. Okay. And that is because you shouldn't have to use a script to thank your customer. You just really want to genuinely thank them, and you can genuinely thank them for whatever is genuine and real. Maybe it's like, hey, Mr. Jones, I called like 50 people on Wednesday night and literally everyone was so rude. And you were like the third person I called and you were super sweet to them on the phone. Hey, maybe some brownie points. Thanks for being my favorite aunt or grandma or godmother. Whatever it is, just thank them for taking out their time, and just, hey, like, I just wanted to make sure that I really do appreciate this. I know you could have done a lot of other things. You're taking out 45 minutes of your time. So, regardless if you get anything today, it really means a lot to me that you would, that you do this. So thank you so much. Thanking them is the first step. Okay. Then we go, have you ever heard of Cutco before? Okay. Have you ever heard of Cutco? Which is a good question to ask at the very beginning of the presentation. Number one, has anyone ever done a presentation yet that you did and you did the whole thing and then you found out at the end that they own Cutco already?
Yeah, that happened yesterday.
Yeah, that's a good thing to know at the beginning of the presentation before you start it. You're like, all right, damn, I just finished that whole thing and you already own a set of Cutco. Then you're like, what am I doing right now? So, and it's, by the way, Cutco owners are the easiest and best people to sell to, but it's good to know that at the beginning. So, you're targeting them a little bit different way. Like, does this person own one knife? Do they own 2 sets of Cutco? They're like, do they own everything that we make already? And they're not going to buy any knives. They're going to buy like cookware and flatware. I might be targeting for some gift sets. So that's good to know, number one. But it doesn't really matter whether they've heard of Cutco or not. The answer to this question does not matter what the customer says. What matters most is what?
How you respond, like
Bingo.
saying, great, you're going to love
Yep.
Cutco.
How you respond to their question, because this is setting the tone. Okay. And what this basically means and does is that it sets the tone for, your overall, again, customers don't buy Cutco, they buy your belief and your conviction of the product. It sets the tone for that before they even see what you're presenting. It's an opportunity to get them excited ahead of time. So, customer says, oh yeah, Andrew, no, I've never heard of Cutco. And I'm like, oh, you haven't? And I'm like, well, perfect, Ms. Jones. You are in for an absolute treat then. Cutco is the bomb. By the end of every presentation, everyone wants to get a set of this stuff, That's what I say every single time. Then, by the way, they say, oh yeah, I've heard of Cutco. It's like, oh, perfect, Ms. Jones. So you already know that. Yeah, Cutco is the bomb. By the end of every presentation, everyone wants to get a set of this stuff. Do you already own a set of Cutco, Ms. Jones? Or, like your response and enthusiasm to that question is the first thing that sets the tone for the rest of the presentation. Okay, after that, the next thing is I'm not a knife salesperson. So I don't know if any of you all have ever gotten this before, but look, I don't know if you ever did a presentation before, maybe with a family member or a friend that knows you, and they're kind of like, they're giving you like one of these looks, like as you're presenting, they're kind of like Daniel, what is this stuff? Like, what are you doing? You're selling knives? Like, I thought you were going to be an engineer. Like, what are you doing? What is this? Okay. Has anyone ever gotten one of those before? So here's the deal. You want to kind of clear that air, that elephant in the room at the very beginning of the presentation, I'm making sure I'm like, hey, like I literally just tell them, by the way, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I know we just met, or hey, I know you guys already know me. I am not a knife salesperson, or not a knife salesman, or a knife saleswoman. Okay. The reason, and it's really just like, hey, I'm not like a knife salesperson. Actually, you know, the reason I'm doing this is because, and you share a little bit of why you're working. Hey, why you started the job, why you're doing this. This is a good opportunity to share, hey, this is what I'm doing and studying in school. This is my long-term career objectives. And this is why I'm doing this right now, because this is how I feel like it's going to help me out in the future. Really sharing that with the customer and clearing the air. And then that all of a sudden those people are like, we'll go, oh, okay, this makes a lot more sense. I'm glad this is great that you're doing this, right? And then transition right into the demo, which is, hey, Miss Jones, do you mind if I share some of my goals with you? And if you've been to Advanced Training 1, you know the little hit tip of asking a second time. You're sure you don't mind? Right? Which gives them that extra like, oh, this is going to be important. They're becoming engaged listeners and they lean in a little bit more as you actually go through that process. So I'm going to go ahead and send you a photo into the group chat here. Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm going to send you this photo in 3, 2, 1. Okay. So that's the first key. And I would again try implementing that before you do another presentation. And it's just making sure that you have those bullet points kind of scripted out already so you know how to transition into the appointment. So you're just building a really good rapport with them and then transition here the right way. Again, we're talking about, by the way, recommendations right now. Okay. But your rapport, like all those things that you're doing at the beginning, they're all setting up the recommendation process at the end. Again, I'll tell you guys right now, when people get recommendations, it matters even less what they think about the product and even more about how much they actually like you. Like, do they actually want to recommend you to their friends? Are they excited about that? Or are they like, I don't know. I don't know if I want any of my friends to sit through the presentation I just sat through, you know? And that really is set up a lot of times in the beginning. Second thing that sets up recommendations is your actual goal sharing that you do. And I think you guys all understand at this point how important it is to tie your customers into your goals. Milena, you mentioned it earlier. You have to have actual number one goals. Like here's some goals that you can have. I would have just in general, here's 4 goals that I would always share with your customers. Okay, what I'm going to go ahead and share with you all in just a second. Let me go ahead and forward it into the group chat again so that you all have it here as well. But I'm going to forward you all 2 links here. Okay, these are examples of what we call goal pages. And you want to create, this would be something to do in your next power hour. You want to create a actual goals sheet, some sort of visual. Okay. You could do it, literally create a little pages or a Word document and share a screen with that. You could create a little website that I should send you guys an example of Adobe Spark. You could create a little keynote, kind of like I have these keynotes, and just have a little bullet points on there or something like that too. But you want something that's visual, a visual representation that you can use to share your goals. It will also make it easier to share your goals the same way every single time. And here's some things that I'd put in that. Number one, I'll show you guys this first one. This is from Jessica Shanin, one of our top performers in the Tampa office this past year. And she had a goal sheet like this: help her win a scholarship in the spring, 20 grand in sales while she was in college. And this is on Google Docs, so it's formatted a little bit weird, but it's got a little bit about her, why she's working, and what some of her goals are that she's working towards. We also have Milena Amy's goal sheet here, who was our previous branch manager and pilot sales manager in the Fort Lauderdale office. And you guys can see right here, it's got first off a picture of her university and school. That's something I would always include right when she opens it up. Okay, and then here's 4 goals that all of you all should have in your goals. I would hit on these every single time. Number 1, your sales goal. Okay, but people I always like you have to keep in mind the whole point of sharing your goals with your customers is to tie them in to your actual goals, and part of that is selling. Like they need to know like that you make like the way that they help you is through purchasing something from you. Okay, so they need to know that, and they need to know what you're actively working towards. So it doesn't matter. Look, you always have a goal. I don't care. Like now coming up, right? Some of you guys in your fast start. So you have a goal for your fast start. That's what I'm talking about. After your fast start ends, most of you all, the Puerto Rico push is coming up. That starts on the 28th. So that I would have, you're going to sit down with your manager sometime between now and Wednesday and create a goal for yourself. That's something that should be shared on every single appointment. When we're not on a push and the push ends and we go into the spring semester, you have a goal for the week, a goal for the day, a goal for that month. There just needs to be some sort of sales goal that's being shared with your customers on every appointment. Second thing, and this should be the same for every person. Everyone just add this to your goals. hey, Ms. Jones, another one of my goals is I want to be introduced to over 1,000 new customers this year. In fact, that's the only way that I can continue with the job is through our recommendation process. So one of my goals this year is to be introduced to over 1,000 people. And just setting a goal of, hey, having 1,000 recommendations. And it's just, again, tying the customers in at the beginning and letting them know ahead of time that you're going to ask for recommendations. Then you want one long-term Cutco goal and a long-term non-Cutco goal. Right. So, hey, Ms. Jones, my long-term goal at Cutco is to become a branch manager or an assistant manager, AMI, or, set myself up for a FSM opportunity during the summertime, win a scholarship, whatever it is, whatever a long-term Cutco goal that you have is. And then you want a long-term non-Cutco goal, which is, for Mila is, hey, I want to be a 5-star math, science, and engineering student when I graduate from University of Florida. I want to be highly sought after. Hey, I want to, whatever that might be, a long-term non-Cutco goal, something's a little more personal for yourself that you're working towards. These should be shared by all of y'all. You can edit this one. You can edit this one for yourself and this one. And then this is probably the same for every single person that I would have on there too. And I'll send you guys a quick photo of this as well, so you have it. Do that one more time. Okay. I also include some photos in there. Again, photos of you and your family, you and your school, maybe you and some colleagues. There's some other stuff, President's Club letter that you can have, All-American Scholarship, all that good stuff as well on the goals page. You just want to have visuals for whatever you're actually talking about. So everyone eventually makes these. The question is just how long does it take you to actually make one? Okay, this goes back to the professional. It's like, are you going to keep doing 20 more presentations over the next couple of weeks without having one of these? Or are you going to get this done in the next couple of days and make sure that your appointments starting Tuesday or Wednesday have some sort of goal sheet and visual that you're actually sharing with your customers as you go through? Again, I do think we're talking about recommendations right now, but this is an important part of that, okay? The next thing that I'm going to share with you guys is just another key tip on getting a lot of recommendations, which is the magic 1999 phrase from my colleague, Jeffrey Gamboa, okay? And this is something that is not in your script, okay, right now, but it's something that I would physically add in to your script, okay? And this is going to be in your demo right before you transition to the actual presentation. Okay, so you guys know on right before you play the video that let's see real quickly here. Okay, you say, hey, Ms. Jones, I'm only able to work through referrals, so my biggest goal today is that you like Cutco enough to recommend me to some friends. So what you're going to do is you're going to insert this into the right before you play the product video. Okay, and I'll just do the phrase for you one time so you all can hear this. But what you'll essentially say is, hey, Ms. Jones, by the way, I want to let you know that we're also members of the DSA, the Direct Selling Association, and the Better Business Bureau. These are two different organizations that monitor the ethical practices for United States companies. We have a great record with both. But what that means is that we can't do any door-to-door. We can't do any telemarketing. So the only way that I can continue to compete for the scholarship and hit my 10K fast start goal is only if I'm personally recommended to other people by each customer, just like I was recommended to you. So Ms. Jones, at the end of the presentation today, I'm going to ask you to recommend me to 10, 20, 30 plus other people. If I don't do a good job, if you don't like the product, or if you just don't like me, then I don't even want you to recommend me to anyone. Okay. But if you do feel like I do a good job, if you like the presentation, or if you really just like me, then I'm going to ask you to recommend me to as many people as possible. I just wanted to give you a heads up. Okay. So do you all want to know the number one reason why representatives don't get recommendations?
If the person didn't like their presentation, or if the demo was like low energy.
Yeah. Here's the number one reason. The number one reason is that customers are caught off guard. They're not expecting it. You ever caught your parents off guard with like something out of the left field? Where it's like, I probably should have timed that one a little bit better. Where he just like brought something up, wasn't the right time, and it just like you just caught them off guard. They didn't even know how to respond, and they probably didn't respond in a great way because of that. Okay, that's how a lot of our customers are. When you don't mention Rex, and then they're doing this whole sales presentation, blah blah. Even they bought something or didn't buy something, all of a sudden they're like, throw this come out of nowhere and say, hey, I know you're about to leave now, but now I want you to spend 15 minutes working on me with recommendations. They're like, what? They're just caught off guard. Okay. So a big portion, all you really need to do is just give them a heads up ahead of time. That way, when you ask for recommendations, it's not like they're like, whoa, where's this coming from? They already know it's coming. In fact, they're thinking about people during the presentation that they should recommend you to. So they're already ready to recommend you to people by the end of the presentation because they know it's coming. And what you're doing by saying this phrase is you're essentially making it clear I'm going to ask you at the end for recommendations. And also, you're also at the same time doing two things. You take the pressure off the customer and let them know you don't have to recommend me to anyone. In fact, if I do a bad job, don't recommend me to anyone. I don't want you to. But if I do a good job, if you do like the product, or if you just really like me, Ms. Jones, I'm going to ask you to recommend me to some people at the end. So just want to give you a little bit of heads up. Right. And it's just, I'm making it a lot more comfortable, giving the customer confidence, allowing them to think about it. So you don't have to, memorize this. The great thing about virtual is that you could have a photo of this ready to rock and roll right on your actual computer. But this is the phrase. And I'll go ahead and send a photo into the SLDM chat as well, so you can have this. But I would make sure this photo is up, or you have it somewhere in your notes or your computer or something like that. That way you can have it ready for you, and you can implement into your actual presentation. And again, the timing that you would do this in the presentation, you could essentially take out this line. I'm only able to work through referrals. So my biggest goal is that you like me and Cutco enough to tell some friends about me. And you can take out that line, okay? And you could you could skip it, and then right before you start the product video, insert it right here before you dive into the presentation. Right. So just so you know, good cook because you have to, like to, or love to. Great. You're going to love Cutco. And you could literally, technically you can do it right here. What most of our reps do is they say, take this part out and just insert it right there. Instead of saying that one line, you make it a little bit more expanded and dive into it too. And you have the visuals, by the way, like on here, when it's on this page, that's when you can talk about the DSA, the Better Selling, Better Business Bureau, Direct Selling Association too. And again, all you're doing is taking off the pressure off the customer and also letting them know ahead of time that you're going to ask. Believe it or not, just by doing that will significantly improve, I think, a lot of the results that you're getting by making sure there's an expectation. And the last key that I'm going to give you guys before we go to some wrap up stuff here on expanding your recommendation list, okay, is how to use points to increase your amount of recommendations. Okay. So you all know that there's a certain amount of point value associated to each item, and there's a certain allotment that you're allowed and able to give away for free. It's usually about 20 points. I'll write this down. It's 20 points for every $100 in CPO. 20 points for every $100 in CPO that you sell. Now, just so you know, your managers have an allowance where you can get that up to 30 points. You don't really always want to give 30 points, but probably 20 is a more safe, protective CPO level. Okay, 20 points for every $100 CPO. So if someone buys $1,000 from me in retail value, okay, I can give away up to 20 points of that. So that would be 200 points. $500 would be 100 points. $100, I get 20 points. And every single Cutco item has a different point value associated with it that's lower, So super shears are $130. There's 70 points to give away for free, which would deduct $70 from your total CPO. Okay, now you want to give away free stuff. Free stuff is good. Okay, here's the different levels of our reps, though. Okay, our low-level reps just give away a ton of free stuff for no reason. They just give it away just because they feel like they need to close the deal. You really don't need to give away a lot of free stuff, guys. Cutco is good, and it's priced at a good point for a reason. You can sell homemaker sets without giving away anything for free. You don't need free stuff to close deals. However, it can be good to help you close certain deals, right? Like a homemaker +8 set with a bunch of free stuff is still better than a galley set with no free stuff. Okay, so it is better to help you close certain deals, or sometimes hook up some family members and friends. But so that's the second level reps. Our first level reps give away way too much free stuff. Our second level, they don't need to give away free stuff to sell Cutco, so they don't give away a lot of it. Our good reps give away a lot of free stuff, but not for the sale. They give it away for recommendations. Okay, so here's what this kind of looks like. That's called a 60-40 rule, which means, typically you want to have about 40% of your points, your total allotment that you can use. You save that to close the deal, to close the sale. The other 60%, okay, I want to use to give away for more recommendations. Again, this is the difference between more experienced reps and non-experienced reps. More experienced reps are like, I want the CPO now. Like, I don't want to lose. I'm going to lose $20 in commissions if I give away this stuff for free stuff, right? Versus experienced reps are like, hey, I'm going to give away $20. Okay, if I just sold a set to someone that, bought a homemaker from me, people that buy homemakers know probably a lot of other people that would also buy what? Homemaker.
More homemakers,
How many-
signatures.
If I got 10 recommendations, gave away a little bit of free stuff, lost $20 in commissions off that deal, but gave a little free stuff to get another 10 recommendations. How much more valuable are those 10 recommendations?
Okay, it's
Well, if you sell a homemaker and every one, like
B, so that would
$10,000.
be
Yeah.
9.
So literally that would be, like think about it, all 10 of those people. If I had no sales to 9 of them, sold one of them, that's $300 if I'm in 30-30. A little bit more. It's almost like $400, So the reality is that those recommendations are a whole lot more valuable than any CPO that you're giving away on that appointment. Okay. And I'll just tell you guys, like the number one rep I had in my office, Amy Rad, 100 grand her first summer on the job, 100 grand her second summer on the job. She made 100 G's in 2 years while working here part-time during the summers in college. She's going to go to med school and not have to take out student loans for medical school because she's already got money for it. Then she'll be making money, $300K a year as a doctor, and actually making $300K a year, not $300K a year and paying off student loan debt for 20 years. So part of that, by the way, Amy's biggest order her first summer was $1,800. She never had a big sale. That didn't even sell any signatures or completes. She wasn't that crazy at selling. She just did a lot of presentations and was the best at recommendations in the office. Always got way more recommendations, always gave away free stuff for recommendations. Always, she had 500 recommendations after a month of doing the job. So it should be your names list should always be expanding there too. That's why she sold more than everybody else, because she had the best customers and had more of them and could do more appointments. And the small sales add up. Even though she wasn't closing these large, big old deals, when she has 5 appointments a day, and it's just, by the way, 5 appointments a day, started at 8 a.m., still finished by 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. But she maybe have a no sale or two, selling 3 of them, sell $500, $600, and like $800. Cool. She's already at $1,500 a day. She does that for 4 or 5 days of the week. She's consistently selling $4 to $5 grand every single week. That is what she would do. So here's my tip for you. Okay. Is to leverage your free stuff. And here's how you do this, by the way. You do not give away free stuff to get to 10 recommendations. You should be able to get to 10 without any free stuff. Again, giving away free stuff to get to 10 recommendations is like giving away stuff for the sale that you didn't really need to give away. It's like just kind of when you give away free stuff just because they buy, that you didn't necessarily need that. Don't give away free stuff just to get you to 10 recommendations. You got to get them to 10 first, and then you offer free stuff to get them a little bit higher to 20, 30, 40, 50 recommendations. If you guys ever seen people that get 20, 30, and you're like, how do they keep getting 20 and 30 on every presentation? It's usually why. Okay, because Miss Jones only knows 10 people, and then you offer her a free veggie peel or a free pair of super shears, and all of a sudden she knows so many more people. Okay, that's just typically the way that it works. So that's one thing that you can do is once they get you to 10, right? And this is just going to the recommendation process is really how do you run? Let me go ahead and put it up here. Recommendations, Florida recommendation approach. Okay, you all probably learned in training the basics of the recommendation approach, which is literally just step number 1. Okay, this is all you need to do to get them to 5 to 10 recommendations, ideally 10 to 20 every single time. Just this. Okay, if you don't have your Google sheet, this goes back to being professional. It's like if you're struggling with recommendations and you still don't have like a real Google sheet like set up the right way with your recommendations on it, then of course you're struggling with recommendations. That's what we taught you in training the first day on the job. If you've been doing this for a week and you still haven't set it up, that just goes back to, it's like, well, maybe take 5 minutes to actually set it up so you can actually get better results in your appointments. But the rest of the process, okay, you guys can start to do now. Like if you're at this point, you're experienced enough, to be on here a little bit, I would just make sure that, the rest of the process, again, step 2 is asking again. That's where you can ask again and offer free stuff. Okay. Or just ask again, like, hey, Miss Jones, is there any way you can get the second smiley face? I actually get a double sponsor. So you want to get all the recommendations you can possibly get from the customer before you offer any free stuff. Then you offer free stuff on top of it. Okay. And what you can do is even after you've already put in the sale, you can always call field service and just add on something to the order and add it, say, hey, can you just add this onto the customer's order for free? Or if it's before you put in the presentation, you can add it on before you put it in. And just make sure, again, you can't really do this if they only bought like $50 from you or $100 from you. Someone bought over $500 though, you're going to have some free stuff to be able to play around with more often than not. And whether it's a veggie peeler, a knife they didn't want in the set, but they didn't get, super shears, a gift, a holiday gift, something like that, are all different things that you can use. But start to learn the rest of the recommendation process, which is asking first time confidently, right? Asking again. 3rd and 4th and 5th steps are some of the best ones that we don't teach you because we don't want to overwhelm you at the beginning, but you don't want to get recommendations without doing these things. Okay. It will eventually come back to bite you in the butt. Step number 3 is qualify your customers. So, look right here. If I go to my rec sheet, see how it has all these little symbols, smiley face, money sign, C, a little heart. That's the space where you qualify your customers. So you take notes on, exactly who the customers are and after them. So I get the name, I get the recs first. Then I ask again, get more recs. Then the first thing I do is, hey, Miss Jones, I want to go ahead and real quickly just get to know these people a little bit better. And you just ask these questions. Hey, Miss Jones, just so I have a little bit of better idea. So who on this here list loves to cook? Okay. And I'll go through and put like a little knife emoji or a C next to all the people's names. I'm like, all right, awesome, Miss Jones. Now, who from this list is like super nice? Great. And I'll go ahead and put a smiley face next to all those people. Okay. Then I'll say, hey, Miss Jones, who from this list likes nice things? That's a good way of asking politely who's rich. Okay. And I'm just saying, by the way, again, I've sold Cutco to teachers. I've sold Cutco to people. I don't sell Cutco to people that don't even have jobs, even though you're not supposed to do that. You can sell this to people that are in low income families. It's not that hard. However, it's easier to sell someone a $3,000 order to someone that doesn't even care about $3,000 than it is to someone that's a little bit tighter on the budget. It just is. So having a good idea of who your customers are before you call them, right? It's like, hey, who likes to get nice quality things? You can ask always other questions too. Like, it's easy to get recommendations. I know a guy named Garrett Sawaka. He sold $300,000 his first 6 months at Cutco as a sales rep. Paid for his whole college and 6 months on the job. He was seeing like ballers. I mean, ballers with the job. But the thing is, he didn't know ballers when he started. He just asked for them when he got recommendations. Hey, I really want to see people that live in Coconut Grove. Do you know anyone that lives in Coconut Grove, Miss Jones? Do 5 presentations. I promise you'll be recommended to people that live in Coconut Grove. All of them know somebody there. Hey, Miss Jones, I really want to know somebody that lives in this part. Do you know anyone that owns a boat? Cool. They're like, oh yeah, I know like 2 people that own a boat. Cool. Here you go. Like just little things like that are telltale signs that people that have higher income can also help. Who has a really big family, Miss Jones? And then if I was starting the job, who would you see first? You put all those notes on there, guys. Your best people to call are going to be people that have all those. Like that's when the job gets exciting, because Amy, that's the thing. She sold a lot because all of her customers were good, because she had thousands of recommendations. So she was just seeing people that love to cook, are super nice and sweet, also like to get nice quality things for their house and their home, and have big families. If every single person you sat down with was that type of customer, how much more do you think you would sell? And that helps. So qualifying your recommendations. And the last step, okay, is just making sure you do these 2 things. Look, if you typically, when you're calling people, 4 phone calls is what gets you a presentation. If you're calling people that you do not know, it's 10 phone calls. Okay. So if you want to book up 5 demos on a Sunday, you got to get in the habit of cranking out 50 calls. And the reality is a lot less people answer the phones and they don't have your number saved. That's really why. Like, it's not like so many people are telling you no. It's just you're calling 10 people and literally 7 of them probably aren't going to answer your call. And you'll get 1 or 2 that will answer, and then you book up a demo. That's why it's 10 calls per demo. However, if you don't want to make that many phone calls, a good easy thing to do is have them text it ahead of time and have the customer send them a heads up, so that when you call them, they already know you're going to call, and it's way easier to set the presentation versus trying to introduce yourself. Hey, Miss Jones, I'm Andrew. I'm not sure if you knew this. Versus like, oh, okay, you're doing like the little scholarship thing, right? All right, yeah, when's a good time? Like, they already know. That's another thing that you can do, is get them texted. Last step is Facebook posts. I'll just tell you right now, I have some reps that literally do 100 presentations and don't start this until they're 100 appointments in. And they literally lost like $5,000 in income because of that. Okay. Every single one of your customers, if you can get them to make a Facebook post, you get not only better recommendations, but there's also a lot of times, this is when you can use advertising and social media to network. You don't understand how many customers are that own Cutco that exist out there. They're just like, yeah, I want to buy some more. We sell a lot of Cutco online, not through sales representatives too. But a lot of those people are used to buying it from a sales rep. So when they post up, it's not uncommon for one of their friends to go, oh, actually, I need a couple new things. And they'll comment in the post, right? Or actually, I was thinking about buying a set of the stuff. And you'll get like freebie sales just from having your customers post up that like you didn't even have to do anything for. It's someone, it advertised to someone in their network. They're like, oh, we own Cutco, we want some, and then boom, you have sales coming in. Again, sometimes you'll get literally nothing from the Facebook post, but if you do enough of them over time, this will start to add up a lot of sales and CPO. And we live in the 21st century, guys. It's pretty important at this point in time to start getting in touch with social media and learning how to use social media to make you money in 2021 and beyond. It's not going anywhere. It's only going to increase. If you're not using social media to make money at this point in time, you're kind of behind the times a little bit. you know, so just making sure that you're using that, and again, make Facebook posts for you. And adults really don't care. Like I know students are something a little more touchy on their personal brand and their social media profile. Adults don't care. They don't give a crap. They'll post anything on Facebook if you ask them to. Okay. They don't really use it the same way students do. They're not like, oh, well, my brand, like, no, they're just like, sure, I'll make a post, you know, copy and paste. It's very, very easy to do. You just got to ask them. Okay. But making sure you guys are getting good at this process here. So I'm going to wrap up with a couple quick things and some thoughts. Take a quick second to jot down any light bulbs or takeaways. If I can, I'm going to probably hold you guys here to 12:05 and go over 5 minutes just to give you guys a little bit extra goods, if that's okay with everybody. So I know some people were hopping on here a little bit late. I could probably get you the recording from this if you were invited to the meeting today. So first thing is, I like to hear just kind of from this section, what's coming up for you all? What's landing home? What are you guys noticing? What are some takeaways or some things that you think you're excited to implement that you think will help you with your presentations?
Well, that board that you're talking about. Oh no, it's cool. So you want to go first? Okay. That the board, like the goals board you said, and getting Facebook posts.
Yep, having that already popped up and shown to the customers. What else?
Still on me?
Saying
Or,
that,
Yeah, someone else.
saying that magic phrase that you went over about only going through recommendations. We don't do door to door. We only go through the recommendations. So you do that heads up before the video.
Yep, and that just makes the customers more comfortable, makes them appreciate more, usually makes them more recommending more people. It also makes it a lot less awkward when you ask for recommendations at that point in time versus like, hey, surprise, now pull out your phone. You know, they already know. And you also take the pressure off the customers too, which is important. Same thing we do with the sales process of like, hey, you don't have to buy anything today. If you don't see anything you like, I'm going to warn you, Miss Jones, though, most people buy because the stuff's really good. Okay. Cool. Maybe one more takeaway, and then we're going to move on here to the last couple thoughts.
Mentioning Rex all the way through the presentation, like the recommendations that they can be giving you, really will help you in the end, like with your goal sheet, sharing, I want 1,000 plus new customers as a goal, or using the magic phrase, you know, also at the beginning, so that at the end, when you mention it, like you said, they're not caught off guard and a little more prepared. They probably thought about it throughout the presentation. So.
Oh, I'm muted here. Yes, sir. You guys get the right idea. Was someone, Kiara, were you going to ask something?
Oh, I was gonna say something, but it's fine.
Okay, cool. Did you want to say it or no?
No, I was gonna say about the telling the parents or like the people that you're selling to about making a post.
Yeah, that also is helpful. Again, y'all like look, it just blows my mind when we have reps that just don't do certain things like that, or like just they've been doing the job for like 3 weeks and they still don't get their customers texted. It's just like, look, part of the job, guys, there's the skill set and there's the work effort. That's the two things. You know, there's only two areas that matter. It's improving your skills, how good you are at the presentations, and then the work effort part, which is how many presentations do you have? Are you actually getting your appointments booked up? Are you good at making the phone calls? Do you have appointments lined up for you? By the way, here's a little quick tip for you. Number one, if you work hard, that always can surpass any lack of skill set. Something I realized really earlier in my career, like a lot of people look at me today and I think I'm so talented at all these things and speaking and blah, blah, like, then that's always the way I've been. That's not true at all. I'm not even really like my natural talents and abilities, in my opinion, are more artistic. I'm not really even good at most of the stuff that most people would associate me being good with today. But I've gotten good with it because I developed a lot of skill set. Skill set can be developed over time. And here's one thing that I realized at a younger age, even when I sucked at Cutco at the job when I first started. If you work hard, eventually you can outwork anyone else that is more talented than you. And by the way, when you do that, then you'll quickly become a lot more talented than they are because you work harder than them. And that's something that's true in life. No matter what you're bad at, like you can outwork other people, and that can surpass in any lack of talent or lack of skills that you have by putting the work effort in. The person that does more demos will always sell more than the person that's better at the job but does less presentations. Number one. Number two, it's also important to not just work hard. If the hardest working people in life were the highest paid, then, you know, construction workers, people in the military, labor jobs would get paid the most. That's not true. They don't. Okay. And they work a lot harder than most people do. Right. I'll tell you that for a fact. But the reality is it's not about just working hard. You have to work smart too. And so that's something for your Cutco presentations too. It's like, hey, it blows my mind when people that work really, really hard and refuse to work smart. It's like they still do things that make your phone time. Like part of it is just actually making the phone calls and being someone's focused and learning how to make 20 phone calls an hour versus like calling one person, waiting 15 minutes, wasting your time, and then deciding to call another person, which is what some people do. Part of it's just getting the habit of actually being able to make calls like a normal professional. But the other part is like, hey, it helps when all your customers are nice to answer your phone calls and are already teed up to make it easy to book presentations for you, right? Making that, hey, taking that 4 hours of phone calls and turning it to 1 hour of focused phone calls to do the exact same amount of work. Working smart, not just working hard too. So that's the thing about the Facebook posts and recommendations too. I want to transition here, guys. And again, stay on with me for 5 minutes. Can everyone stay on for 5 minutes afterwards here too? We go to 12:05. Cool. I don't usually run over on meetings, but I want to make sure you guys get some goods here before we wrap up here for today. So as we wrap up today, first thing I want to tell you guys is I know some of y'all might be interested in some TLA interviews. We'll be doing more of those in the spring. So if you want to be a 5-star crew, if you want to set yourself up for it, really you just got to start making some moves over the winter break. And I truly believe that the winter break can be an excellent time to do that. I always think about and talk about the power of 1 year and where you could be from 1 year from today. This is always kind of like an iconic photo for anyone that you guys know or recognize these people. This is him when he's a 12-year-old boy. And this is like his idol at the time, like an athlete that he aspired to. And he took a photo with him 12 years later. Or 9 years later, he's playing side by side with him on the Dutch national team. And I just think about that element, for a lot of you all, like you're getting mentored and coached by managers that support you right now. And the reality is that in a year from today, a lot of y'all could be in much different positions and you could be in their roles or working alongside them or playing some big leadership capacity. So, I just want to challenge you. Your bank account might have barely anything in it right now. A year from today, it could look a lot different. And that's what I just challenge you. Where could you be a year from today? Maybe there's some light bulbs from that. The other things that I'll walk you through is if you really want to be an A player performance and get on the radar, look, there's 3 things that I say. It's be consistent. Like once the spring starts, be consistent. By the way, consistency in the spring, if I'm a full-time student, that just looks like doing 5 to 7 demos a week, which a lot of y'all are doing a lot more than that right now as you get into like the break, or you should be at least, like I did like 5 to 7 presentations a day when I was a sales rep, crank them up. That's how you do, I can do 5 appointments and it's still a half day's worth of work. Like doing 4 appointments in a day, unless you're doing, again, not working smart, you're working hard and just doing 4 appointments, but you have them at 8 a.m., 11 a.m., 1 o'clock, and like 5 o'clock. So you're working all day long, but you're doing 4 hours worth of work in actuality. Line them up the right way. But, during this fall and spring, consistency is like selling $1,000 a week, doing 7 to 8 presentations or so a weekly basis. You're not even talking about a part-time job, honestly. That is part-time for us here. But what I'll tell you guys is all about being consistent, communicating, and stepping up when it matters the most. That's what leaders do. LeBron James, Michael Jordan's, Tom Brady's of the world. They don't always have perfect games. They don't always kick ass every single time they play. They sure always do during the playoffs. They sure always show up during the championships every single time, every single year. Everyone doubts them. Oh, they've been off their game. Nope. They kick it into gear when it matters the most. That's what leaders do. They step up when it matters the most. And when it matters the most in our business is during our push periods. And all of you all know we have the Baller Puerto Rico trip that's up for grabs here right now. But it's not just about hitting Puerto Rico, though I want you all to be. I want to bring a freaking army to Puerto Rico here with us. But it's also about setting yourself up for some success and really making a statement with your push effort. So we're wrapping up this push right now. Everyone knows that you guys can win a TV right now for free right now between now and sales on the 28th. You only have to sell $2,500 and you win a free TV.
Yeah.
Okay? So keep that in mind, number one. But the big push, the big window for the vast majority of people on our team is this one right here. Okay. So this week, build up some positive momentum for yourself Monday through Wednesday. You're probably not doing demos on Christmas or Christmas Eve. You could do some demos on the 26th. Okay. But the Wednesday night team meeting this week, that is not about setting up appointments for this week. It's about starting the push strong. So you want to make sure that you go into the 28th, the first day of the push, with like the 27th, we're going to have an all day phone jam on the 27th. If you were in the division meeting, you've already heard me talk about that. We're going to start at 2:00. The goal is literally to leave that Sunday with 20 or more presentations already booked up in front of you. To do that, you got to make sure you already have 10 booked up when you show up on Sunday. So to ride with 10, leave with 20 that Sunday night. So you're really going into the push with some really strong positive momentum. It's all about how you start the push. Okay. If you don't do that when you start, you can still have a good push, but it's hard to maintain momentum. And most of you all start school at one point during these dates or at the very, very end of it. So you want the beginning to be a little bit more stronger than the end. And you also have to keep in mind that you have New Year's wrapped in here too today. So it's really important to start the push strong. If you have a weak start, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then again, New Year's comes around. So you've missed a little bit of that kind of window, maybe not have such strong results. Then it's like the second or third, and you start school in like 4 or 5 days. You really got to start this one strong. So making sure you're ready to rock and roll. You'll have, the great thing is that you have Christmas Day. It's a good break. You even have the day after Christmas where you could get some more demos booked up for some positive momentum, or take that day off and just get ready to go hard in the paint on Sunday, get your attack list ready. But it really comes down to this push. So I built some positive momentum for myself now. Wednesday night, you want to focus on getting 10 demos booked up for Monday and beyond when the push starts. And then that Sunday is really the time to execute here. And there's something that all of your managers will be talking to you about. Everyone steps up in the pushes. We have reps go small, big, but like the exclusive group in our division is called the 10K Alliance. That's the group that you want to be a part of if you want to get set up for some advancement opportunities. That's the elite group. You get added to a group chat. We have morning meetings, and we ask our alliance to get really committed at a higher level to going to every single one of those, at least during the times when they're not in school, just the morning alliance meetings. And I'll tell you what, there's nothing better that you can do for your Cotco career than being a part of an alliance. Because even afterwards, like you might not be going to morning meetings anymore. You might not be working as hard, but the skill set that you develop during that week or two stays with you beyond that, and really taking a week. If there's ever a time to do it, it's now. I talk about how to make peak performers. 3 things that you get by being a part of the alliance is you get positive pressure, meaning you have a goal that your manager knows, and also all the other people on your alliance know your goal, that you're actively working towards. And there's some positive pressure that goes into place. You're getting circles of influence. You're getting way more coaching being on our 10K Alliance than you do just being a rep on our team. So you get more support from your manager. You're also working with other top performers. A lot of y'all are new to reps, but you're working with people that have already sold 30, 40, 50 grand, doing the exact same thing as you, being on the same wavelength as you. It's easier to work with when you're working towards your own goals, but with other people versus just going flying solo. And the last thing is you get a high level coaching and support from your manager too. So I would add that to your notes. If that's something that you're interested in being a part of, that elite group in your office, I think a lot of you all are probably already added to the Gunners chat, but if you join the alliance, you'll get added to the Gunners chat. And it's also just a good way to get on the radar for me. This is the momentum week. This is the week you want to use to build up some momentum for yourself. So hit the TV, finish this week off at $1,000 in sales. It's Magic Monday. And use this week. It's not really important how much you sell next week. It's more so important about how many demos and recommendations am I doing. So I have a lot of momentum going into the push, right? Versus like doing nothing for the next 7 days and then trying to go all out once the 28th starts. It doesn't really work that way in our business. Like you have to build momentum. It's not as easy as just go snap your fingers and boom, I have 20 appointments lined up. No, you probably got to get some positive momentum here. This week is kind of what I recommend here. And that will get your kick started, your push the right way. And the last thing I'll just tell you about with our personal recruits contest, just so you guys know, again, if you get friends in the team, it makes some of these trip levels a lot easier. You can have 4 friends in the team and it lowers this amount you need to sell by $4 grand. If you have 4 friends, you only need to sell $5 grand for the push. So getting some friends on the team is not only a good statement, becoming a team builder, it can also make Puerto Rico a little bit easier to hit. And here's my last tip to you guys to wrap up the meeting today, just for, in and on personal recruits. I'll give you guys a story, and it's a story of a guy that went to go buy a Porsche for the first time, went to like the collection in Miami, goes to the Porsche dealership, shows up, and he's like, hey, sir, I walked in, he talks to the salesperson, and he's like, hey, I'd like to, well, first off, someone had to go get another salesperson, and then they come over to him like, hey, can I help you with something today? And he's like, yeah, I'd like to buy a car. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, sir. I actually can't help you out with that. And he's like, what? Like, are you not a salesperson? I'm sorry. He's like, I'm sorry. Like, I like to actually, I came here I want to buy a car from you guys today. And he's like, oh yeah. So sir, I'm so sorry. I just really cannot help you with that. And then he's like, at this point, it's kind of getting frustrated, confused. He's like, I don't understand. Like, do you not understand? I'm trying to give you my money. I would like to buy a car from you. He's like, yes, sir. I understand. I actually heard you the first time. I'm so sorry. If you want to buy a car today, we're just not able to help you out with that. However, if you like to buy a Porsche, you're in the right place. Right. And so what's the moral of that story here is like, okay, cool guys. Like, look, we don't sell knives. Okay. If you identify with selling knives, then you've lost a little bit. Okay. We sell Cutco knives, which is literally, there's not a single product in the world that's like it of its kind, and if your friends ask you like, hey, Cam, what's the job? What's that you're doing? You go, oh yeah, I'm selling knives. Ooh, You've already lost. Okay. When you explain the job to your friends and you're trying to get personal recruits on the team, you got to have pride in what you do. You got to realize the income, showing some big paychecks, flexibility, that's all attractive to a lot of people. Most people, whenever my friends started the job, they never started it because I sold them money and that great stuff. They just sold, they just saw that I was making good money and I was having fun and I just enjoyed it. They just honestly wanted to be a place where they get some experience and have some fun. And I was really confident about that. And I wanted to be a part of the team there. So I think that's one little tip that I can give you guys and building yourselves up, getting some personal people on the team. And then it always comes back to, guys, CPO talks, hit 30-30, get on the radar. All of you all should have my cell phone number, or you'll have it in the WhatsApp group chat from now on. So, I want to hear hot updates from you. I also want to hear you guys communicate. So text me anytime that you sell over $1,000 or more, a DDJ or above, or if you just get some friends on the team, doing any of those types of activities, 20 recommendations or more. I'd also like to know if you're getting 20 or more on an appointment too, when you start to do that consistently here. And that's good things that you can do to get onto the radar. So a couple quick things just to wrap up. Here's what I would talk to your managers about. Okay. I also want to let you know the last thing, okay, is there's power in being in the right meetings, the right place. And I just want to let you all know that if you were at this meeting today, and I think everyone already probably got invited to the division meeting, but our big event that's coming up is the VCA's event, the Vector Cutco Awards night, that happens on January 23rd. That's the biggest conference that we run in the spring. And I just want to let you know, if you're here today, that you're going to be invited to it. Okay. You can let your managers know that. By the way, they might be a little bit surprised because they usually like to give out those invitations themselves. So just let them know that I invited you to it. Okay. And you can text them and let them know that I officially gave you an invite to that. It is a free event. Okay. But you do have to reserve a spot for it. So they need to get you signed up for it as soon as possible here as well. So just let them know that I invited you. And the big three that I would talk to them today to just get down into your notes, okay, is number one, I would ask your managers and I would text them real quickly, just say, hey, just got out of the SLDM, let them know what maybe some of your biggest takeaways were. And then I would let them know three things. Number one, I would ask them about, how do I get onto the 10K Alliance? Or maybe being a team builder. But I ask them, how do I get onto the 10K Alliance for the Puerto Rico push? That's the first conversation that I'd probably have. And you should sit down with them and do a little bit of goal mapping out sometime between now and Wednesday, and see if they'll let you get added to our gunner chat in the division and get your goals posted up there. That's always a big deal. Second thing that I would write down is when's my Dirty 30 birthday? When am I going to hit Dirty 30? I don't care when you hit it, as long as you have a goal as to when you want to hit it. Is that this week? Is that in January? Is that before you start spring classes? Is that by the time summer rolls around? Doesn't matter how long you get it, but I promise you will always sell more when you have a goal that you're working towards than when you don't. Okay. The week that you have a goal of $2,000, you might not sell $2,000, but you'll sell more than that week than if you didn't have a goal of $2,000. Okay. And then the third thing, so ask your manager about 10K Alliance, ask them about, or just go ahead and get 30-30. And the third thing would be to let them know that you got invited to the VCA's event, and again, sign up for that here as well. All right, crew. Well, we're already 10 minutes over, so it's been a great SLDM. Thank you guys for being on today. Feel free again to text me hot updates. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I'll reach out to your managers and let them know how it went, give them some feedback. And I can stay on here if anyone has any questions, but